Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territory of Coast Salish people, including the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. This morning, I want to answer questions about the provincial restart and what that means to workers and their employers. I'm fully aware of the impacts to both. To workers, the lifeblood of any business. They saw operations abruptly dwindle or the doors slammed shut at their place of work, and many felt uncertain how they would make ends meet. And to employers who drive our economy, provide jobs and family-supporting wages to British Columbians. They saw supply chains, consumers, and cash flow snapped away practically overnight. Unquestionably, the coronavirus has been a global tragedy, and unmistakably, no one is immune to the impacts. But BC fared well and is now well positioned to lead in the nation's recovery effort. WorkSafeBC has released industry-specific guidelines for employers resuming operations as part of Phase 2 of the Restart Plan. These guidelines can be found on WorkSafeBC website, and they will help businesses reopen in a safe manner during COVID-19 pandemic. These guidelines were something that many businesses all over the province have been waiting for. We knew they would be popular. They had over 524,000 page views of its guidelines and COVID-19 resources. That's 440% increase in website views compared to the previous weeks of 97,000. It certainly highlights the surge in public interest, which is why during COVID-19 situation, WorkSafeBC increased the number of prevention officers on the public information lines to 26 to keep pace with the demand. A 225% increase in call capacity from COVID-19. It's also why they have more than doubled safety inspections during the past few months. From March 22 to April 16, 2019, there were 4,191 inspections. But this year, from March 22nd to April 16, they had 8,719 inspections. In fact, last year they did over 10,000 safety inspections in the entire year. But in the first 6 months this year, they have already conducted 15,325 inspections so far. This is to make sure businesses have the best safety measures in place and consumers can place their trust by stepping inside of them. And the guidelines released last week contribute to increasing our confidence and our safety. WorkSafeBC consulted with many industry associations and organizations, work with safety committees at workplaces, and provincial health officer provided the expertise to create these guidelines. These guidelines are a starting point. Many businesses are unique or have individual circumstances different than others, and they can speak to WorkSafeBC about their individual cases. The guidelines were never intended as a silver bullet, one-size-fits-all solution. It is a made-in-BC plan specific to our needs. We expect the same entrepreneurial spirit that's shown throughout the epidemic, like the distilleries that pivoted to manufacturing sanitizers, to still shine bright as businesses restart to recover. In fact, it's that pioneering resilience and entrepreneurial spirit that has always defined the West as the best. BC will continue as a leader. Recovery is on its way. But recovery comes on its own pace, and resiliency requires patience. This restart isn't simply a matter of flipping off a switch. It is more like turning up the dial. And it's not a return to normal, but it is a hopeful, careful, thoughtful step forward, finding our new normal. BC is in a relatively good position to recover from COVID-19. As we started from a strong economic position, pre-COVID-19, BC had the lowest unemployment rate in the country and one of the best economic growth. I feel strongly that working together, our economy will recuperate and revitalize. Social and cultural norms will return and revive. Our jobs and businesses will reappear and reinvest in British Columbia. And in time, with hard work, BC will return as a national leader of economic growth in Canada, as we were leaders pre-COVID-19. I would also like to mention that I will be hosting a town hall tonight at 7:15 p.m. I hope you will join us. Al Johnson, Vice President of Prevention Services at WorkSafeBC, will also be on the call. We're going to answer questions from citizens and talk in detail about WorkSafeBC guidelines. So I encourage you to dial in through the usual government social media channels as we deliver the answers to many restart questions. Thank you. I'm prepared to answer some questions if you have.
Thank you, Minister. And a few gentle reminders for the media on the phones. Please press *1 if you have any questions. You are limited to one question. If you do have a follow-up, please queue up again by pressing *1. And time permitting, we'll be able to take them. You will not be audible till I call out your name, so please keep your phones unmuted. We begin today with Tanya Fletcher, CBC. Tanya, go ahead, please.
Hi, Minister. Just slightly off topic here. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is proposing a 4-day work week as a way to kind of stimulate the economy by allowing more domestic tourism, the theory being that if you allow people a 3-day weekend, they will spend more on the economy locally. Obviously, there are similar parallels in BC. Is that something you might support here in BC, a 4-day work week?
Well, I think I will leave that up to the entrepreneurial spirit of British Columbian businesses and the workers. As you may know, many workers and the businesses already have a different work schedules. Some work 4 days on, 4 days off. Others have staggered hours. So I think I will leave it up to the workers and the businesses what suits them the best. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do as a government to make sure that we support those businesses, their initiatives, ensure that the workers' rights are protected. At the same time, businesses have the support that they need in order to recover fast from this COVID-19 situation. And I know, and I'm quite confident that we in British Columbia, our businesses and our workers, are up to that challenge.
The next question is from Rob Buffum, CTV, Vancouver Island. Rob, go ahead, please.
Hi, Minister. My question relates to non-medical masks. As you know, the federal health minister or health official yesterday recommended their use if you can't physically distance. I'm wondering if there's renewed consideration now to making it mandatory that in some businesses, like say restaurants, where it's not going to be possible for people to be 6 feet apart, that the use of masks be mandatory for servers, for example. I know Earls does have them now, but other restaurants I don't think are necessarily going to do that. And I also wondered about, say, childcare providers, if there would be consideration to making the wearing of non-medical masks mandatory in spots like that.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that question comes up all the time. And I think Dr. Bonnie Henry is in a best position to guide us. And we are following her guidelines and her instructions. What is the best way to stop the transmission of COVID-19? And I think it's already determined there are better ways, which is the physical distancing, hand washing, sanitization of the area where people come in contact with each other. I think those are the best places, best ways, as the Dr. Henry would tell you, is to stop the spread of COVID-19. But I think there may be situations, as Dr. Henry have said, that where self and physical distancing may not be possible. I think those are the options those businesses have to put that in place. But I think at the end of the day, I want to make and stress this point, that it is up to us and the businesses to ensure that win the confidence of the public, their patrons, who will be patronizing their businesses. If they don't win their confidence, they will not come. The customers will not come. And the businesses will suffer and continue to suffer. I think collectively, we need to make sure. That's why the WorkSafeBC have put together these sector-specific guidelines, and the businesses are different. And they can actually build upon those guidelines to suit their particular needs, whether it's a child care, whether it's a small restaurant, or it's a manufacturing facility. They need to devise their own guidelines that suits their needs. I think they need to ensure that their customers have a confidence to come and patronize their businesses, their workers feel safe to go to work and provide their services and produce the product. I think that should be the one point that I like to stress. And as Dr. Bonnie Henry have said, we don't want to start and then stop again. That's not the right thing to do. I think we want to start slow. A science-based precautions should be taken, and those are suitable to those individual businesses.
Thank you, Minister. The next question is from Lisa Cordasco, CHLY.
Thank you. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
What are your thoughts about whether government, provincial or federal, should pay sick leave for employees who currently do not have that benefit? And what is the estimated cost of doing that?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think as we went through the COVID-19 pandemic, a number of areas have been identified that normally people never even thought about. I think paid sick leave is one area, whereas we have seen in some of those operations, which ended up being shut down at the end, where workers felt forced to go to work because they have economic pressures to go to work. They couldn't afford to stay home. And as a result, the virus spread to other workers, and the businesses ended up shutting down. So I think we need to find a way. We're working very, very closely with the federal government. Our premier is talking to the Prime Minister and our colleagues across the province, across the country, to ensure that we find a national solution to that, because it's a national pandemic. It affects everyone across the country, and that we should find a national solution to it. One way of doing that is reforming EI program, whereas the waiting period could be waived, or the benefit levels could be higher. That's one way of dealing with it. We're pushing the federal government to work with us and other jurisdictions to make sure that we have a system in place that is a national nature, and so that the people don't feel forced to go to work because of economic reasons. They should stay home when they are sick. And I think that's a right approach. But, as the Premier have said, if the feds fail to work with us, which I'm hopefully that they will, I think we as British Columbian will find our own ways. But I also understand the Premier made it very clear. We don't feel that the businesses should be burdened with the extra cost. It's a national pandemic. It affects all of us, and I think we should not be burdening the employer for the entire cost. We have to find a way what is fair, so that we have that system in place, the security for the workers in place, both economically and socially, at the same time that the businesses can continue to thrive.
Moira Witten, the TAI.
Hi, Minister. Thanks so much for taking my question. With the announcement of the pay boost for frontline health and social service workers earlier this week, there's been some questions about why essential workers in grocery stores, liquor stores, or peer support harm reduction workers aren't included. Do you have any plans to, or are you planning to advocate for the inclusion of non-health or social service essential workers?
Yeah, I think right now, as you know, it's a federal program, and we are participating in it. Right now, it is to provide extra support to those who are providing critical public service in health, social services, and corrections, because those are the workers who are dealing with those most vulnerable who are sick, and they're working with them on a day-to-day basis. And I think those are the people that will be given this extra enumeration. And but certainly we as a province has worked very closely to uplift those who are the lowest paid workers in the province. Minimum wage is going to go up June 1st. And at the same time, we're providing $1,000 to those workers who have lost their income and who qualify for CERB program federally. And also our climate action tax is almost doubled for families. So I think we are taking steps to support those people who are lowest paid workers in the province. But at the same time, I think we will continue to work to make sure that we do everything we can to help all workers who step forward, risk their lives, risk their health, so that they will provide the service that we need and provide healthcare services to those who are sick. So I think we need to continue to work to make sure that the people feel safe, people feel that they are protected.
The next question is from Shannon Patterson, CTV Vancouver. Shannon, go ahead, please.
Oh, hi, Minister. So businesses that were originally ordered to close, like hair salons and gyms and in-person dining at restaurants that are now allowed to reopen, will inspections happen to make sure they're complying? Will those inspections be random, or will it be based on complaints from people who see issues? Can you talk about that?
Yes, and I think the part of the program that WorkSafeBC have put together, yes, these are sector-specific guidelines, and every sector is different, and within that sector, every business is different. And when it comes to hair salons and the restaurants, again, they are different. They have different needs for individually. And I think the WorkSafeBC, along with these guidelines, also have established what we call them a reviewing and inspection regime. So they will be conducting random inspections to ensure that the guidelines that the WCB have put together are followed. At the same time, the provincial health officers' guidelines are followed. And we would support them, and we would help with them to devise their own particular plans. And what is needed, there's a 6-stage restart plan put together by WorkSafeBC, and I encourage them to go and take a look at the WorkSafeBC website. Part of that is assessing your risks and where their employees are gathering, where they're using common areas, where certain surfaces and the machinery and equipment are being touched by many workers. I think, how do we eliminate those risks? I think those are part of the 6-stage restart program. So I encourage them to go to WorkSafeBC website and build upon those guidelines, go through those 6-stage restart program, and then if they still need help, contact WorkSafeBC, because there's a helpline available, which I could name, or I could read it out to you. It's a 1-888-621-7233. You will see a live person in there to guide you, to help you with the guidelines, to devise your plan, and at the same time, what other resources are available, they'll work with you.
Thank you. The next question is from Shannon Waters, BC Today. Shannon, are you there? Moving on, the next question is from Dirk Meissner, CP.
Hi, Minister. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but I was wondering, with the minimum wage set to go up on June the 1st, have you at all considered deferring that increase, or not putting it in altogether?
No, the minimum wage will continue to go on as it was scheduled. As I mentioned, June 1st, it will go from $13.85 to $14.60. Because minimum wage, the lowest paid workers in BC need help as well. They need money in their pockets so that they will go and invest in the local businesses who are suffering right now, and it'll help the local businesses in their own communities. I think the minimum wage will continue as it was scheduled starting June 1st.
Thank you. The next question is from Pooja Sekho, Red FM.
Good morning, Minister. You've actually answered a part of my question already, but for the other part, are these random checks going to be limited to restaurants only? And is there going to be a penalty for those who are violating these guidelines?
Absolutely. The inspections are for all businesses that are reopening. And every business that is reopening or they already opened, are subject to those inspections, because we want to make sure that there is no second wave. We want to make sure that the provincial WorkSafeBC guidelines are followed, provincial health officers' guidelines are followed, and certainly there are provisions for penalties in there as well. But I think our preference would be to work with them, because this is not normal. And I think businesses need support, and we will support them. The WorkSafeBC is there to support them. As I mentioned before, in the first 6 months, largely during the COVID-19, the inspections in all of those workplaces have increased by about 51%, from 10,000 all inspections last year to 15,000 already in the first 6 months. So the random inspections will take place. It could happen anywhere. It's a restaurant or hair salons or manufacturing or service providers. They will be required to follow those instructions, because as Dr. Henry have already said, that we don't want to be in a position to start the businesses, then having to shut them down again. That's not good for those businesses. That's not good for our economy. That's not good for the workers who depend on those businesses. So I expect that the most businesses will comply, and if they need help, WorkSafeBC is there for them to call and to follow their website and build upon those guidelines their own business-specific safety plan. And we are encouraging them to post at their businesses so that the workers can see what the safety plan that they are working under, and their customers can see that their safety is maintained and is looked after when they are patronizing those businesses, because that's the utmost important. I can't emphasize enough that if we don't win the confidence of public, confidence of the customers who are going to come into those businesses, the business will continue to suffer. And we don't want to be in that situation. So we want to win the confidence and trust of customers and public that their health and safety is protected when they are patronizing those businesses.
Thank you. The next question is from Albert Sui, Fairchild TV. Albert, go ahead, please.
So, Minister, you touched upon some of the compliance issue. I'm just wondering if this small business has obligation to keep track of the clients visited those shops, like a barber shop or other personal services outlets.
Yeah, so regardless what kind of business there is, and as I said before, every business is different, every sector is different, and we have a restaurant, then we have restaurant. There are large restaurants with a larger capacity, then we have a smaller restaurant with maybe a smaller capacity. So each one of them will have their own plan. Hair salons, some are large, some are just one person, chair, barber shop. They need to devise their safety plan accordingly. And WorkSafeBC is there to help them devise their plan, build upon the WorkSafe guidelines that they have put together. And but those businesses are required to post those safety plan at their workplaces so that their customers are confident that when they come into their businesses, their health and safety is protected.
Thank you. The next question is from Rob Shaw, Vancouver Sun.
Hi, Minister. I just wondered if you or WorkSafeBC are hearing from businesses that are having difficulty or confusion buying PPE required for their sector-specific guidelines, or maybe it's quite expensive for them. And then I also wondered what you make of the opposition Liberal suggestion that government create some sort of central hub for small businesses to find the PPE they need for the WorkSafeBC guidelines, and that maybe WorkSafe should be using some of its surplus to give businesses a refund on their purchase, so that's not necessarily passed on to customers.
Yeah, good question. I think PPE issue always comes up, and I think like I said before, every business have their own needs to put their safety plan together. Some may require extra PPE. Some may be able to put their safety plan based on physical distancing and hand washing facilities and having sanitizer stations put together. Others may, where the physical distancing is not possible, may require a certain PPE. I think we want to make sure that the medically required required PPE should be left for the frontline healthcare workers. And the non-medical PPE, I think every business have their own suppliers, and they should work with them. And WorkSafeBC is there to help them. Government also have put together, $5 billion economic recovery plan to help the businesses when they need some business support. For example, the property taxes are reduced by 25%, and other taxes are reduced. And then we take a look, working with the federal government, 75% wage subsidy available to those businesses. And I think we want to work with those businesses. We have the Economic Recovery Task Force chaired by the Premier, and where our finance minister also sit on, and along with the Minister Mangal, working with the businesses, working with nonprofit to find a way to restart the economy. And I think I will leave it to individual businesses what their needs are, and if they need support from WorkSafeBC, they should approach WorkSafeBC, and WorkSafeBC is committed to work with them to ensure that they have a safety plan in place, build upon the safety guidelines that they have put together, along with provincial health officers' guidelines.
Thank you, Minister. The next question is from Colton Davies, Radio NL.
Hi, Minister. Hoping for your input on this. For recreational programs and sports, when will those groups and organizations have guidelines from WorkSafeBC? And especially in terms of sports, what can you say about what people can expect in those guidelines? Because obviously the level of contact and the number of participants can vary greatly. Thank you.
Yeah, I think as we're going through different phases of reopening our economy, we are moving in phase 2, and there are a number of sectors that we are saying that they're reopen, and those guidelines are in place. As we move forward, I think in June, when we are talking about moving into the phase 3, many of the other businesses will look at those guidelines, and those guidelines are being developed now in conjunction with the organizations and safety organizations within those sectors, and working with those industries to ensure that the safety plans are in place. And I think that's where it will be, and the WorkSafeBC is working on them, working with the organizations, the associations, to ensure that they have the support, they know what the guidelines are, they can build their own based on and build upon those guidelines that the WorkSafeBC put together. And we'll work with them to make sure that the players or the associations or the coaches, referees, all of those people feel that they are safe to go to, and the parents, if they are sending their kids to those support, feel that they are safe when they go on that field.
Thank you, and we have time for one last question, and it is coming from Andy Lee Ming Pao. Andy, go ahead, please.
Hi, Minister. Just one. So there are concerns being brought up from employers that because of the benefit program for the workers, people they have to pay extra salaries for them to work. So is there concerns that brought up with that? And could you comment on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's why we are working with the federal government to support our frontline workers in healthcare, in social services, and in other industries, corrections, for example, where they will be paid $4 an hour based on the straight time hours worked. And then there are other private businesses like groceries. They on their own have bumped the wages for their workers to recognize the work that they are providing, the services they're providing. And as a government, we have put together a number of programs to help the small businesses and other businesses. For example, as I mentioned before, their property taxes are lowered by 25%. And also, the BC Hydro, their BC Hydro bills can be waived for 3 months. And I think those are the type of support that we are providing as a government. And I think we will work with those businesses if there are some additional needs for them. And I would suggest that they contact the WorkSafeBC to make sure the safety plan is in place, and then make sure that they win the confidence of the customers who come and patronize their businesses. And if they still need help, government is there to work with them and to see how we assist them in order to recover from COVID-19.
Thank you, Minister, and that's all the time we have today. Thank you all for joining.